Hey guys, I just wanted to make this video. I had a question come through about saunas, whether they're beneficial for recovery, if there's actually like legitimacy to them with regard to just bodybuilding and overall training, whether you're training for like some kind of sport or anything like that. Um, and so it's interesting because like saunas are really popular, especially now. I remember when I went to Finland and some of the Scandinavian countries, like most of you probably know that saunas are extremely popular there. It's like one of their national things that they do there. And so the places that I went to, the people's homes that I went to, they had saunas in literally every house that I went to. Like everybody's personal house, saunas were built into the house. So literally they would go to like dinner or at home and cook their meals, whatever, eat. And then after a little while, once the food settled, they would go. Everybody would go to the saunas. The parents, the children. It was literally just something that was done kind of on a regular day to day basis. Now, so the interesting thing about those countries is people have done studies, and I don't know any specific studies on top of my head right now, but in the past I've come across studies where they've done them on people that live in those countries, specifically like Norway, Finland, all these Scandinavian areas, sometimes even certain areas of Russia, where where saunas are very popular, and they do come back with stats that show an interesting correlation between the saunas and some of the health benefits. Some of the like risk ratios to diseases are less, and some of the other areas they're less. However, like in those countries, it's actually the depression rate is very high. So it's not something like, I don't believe saunas are a cure all for everything, and that's how some people treat it. Now, I used to have a friend, we're still friends, but I haven't talked to him in a little while, and he loved saunas. Loved saunas. A Russian guy. He loves saunas. He told me that he would stay in there until his head actually started hurting. Now, I don't like, we'll get into whether saunas are truly beneficial for bodybuilding and fitness and sports, but whether they are, they're not, you should not be staying in a sauna until your head hurts. I kind of liken that to almost an addiction. I mean, that's, you got to be careful with like how hot you get the sauna, how how long you stay in there. There's some real risks involved in being in an overheated environment for too long. And some people will tell you, "Oh, tough it out," things like that. And there's no reason to do that. Like the reason that you're in the sauna, it's not, you're not training, so it's not like you need to push one more rep. Like, why are you quitting? This is um, for your recovery. And so if you're in there to the point where recovery is not like happening, you're just actually hurting yourself, you have a crazy headache, or you're super dehydrated, whatever the case may be. I mean, that's not okay. Like, definitely don't do that. Now, to the point of recovery from muscle and things like that, there are some benefits as far as like the hot protein, cold protein. There's some studies that have like identified them as, they're not, those aren't like obviously scientific terms, but they say that if you're in a sauna under a particular temperature, I forgot what the exact amount was. I think it was like a little over 100 degrees or something like that. But for 15 to 20 minutes, like it activates hot, what they call hot proteins, that then stimulate like the recovery of your, like in our case it would be, we were interested in muscle. They said also, I think sometimes skin is involved, like better for your skin and so forth. um Personally, I feel like it benefits me. I feel like that heat is definitely conducive to muscle recovery and muscle growth. So I felt like I've grew better. I've had more muscle gains if I included saunas after my workouts on a regular basis. And the reason that I feel like that is appropriate statement to make is if you have an injury, like a muscle injury of some sort, that's not like it's not so bad. Excuse me. I don't know what's going on with me today. It's not so bad that you require like surgery or anything like that, but bad enough to bother you. Most of the time, they do two things, right? Like one thing is they do cold compressions, whatever you want to use, ice, whatever the case is, cold compressions, which is another thing that people use for recovery, like ice baths and stuff like that. And then they do like hot compressions for muscle like rejuvenation and so forth for injury recovery. So it makes sense that the two things that people use, like icy hot or other things, like is similar in its in our understanding of like cold baths and saunas. Like they're the similar principles, like the same principles apply, hot and cold. The only difference is that, if you're putting icy hot or you're doing like cold ice compressions or heat compressions on your muscle, you're doing it in like one specific area, whatever the injury is, whatever you're trying to recover. But when you're in a sauna, you're doing it for your entire body. So if you're working out, essentially, I guess you could say that if you're working out like your arms, like let's say you're doing biceps, right? I guess you could, and this is me just speculating, I guess you could put something hot over your biceps, like a hot towel or something like that, and might have like a similar effect. But I feel like a sauna would be better because it's just more encompassing. Like it kind of covers you from everywhere. It's you're inside the sauna. It's similar to like whether you're watering the lawn or whether it rains. Like you can water the lawn and you might get some benefits. Like maybe your trees won't die, or maybe like your plants won't die. It depends what kind of heat you're talking about. Lately here in Tennessee, we've been getting really hot. But or it could rain and then it fully saturates the ground where like everything just thrives. So that's what I compare the saunas to. It's like raining for the grass. It's like it fully saturates you. But again, there is a benefit to risk ratio, and then there's also like enjoyment, the factor of enjoyment. People just enjoy being in the sauna. So if you're doing it strictly for recovery, everything that I've seen says don't go over like 15-20 minutes, because anything beyond that is not really conducive. But I've stayed longer than 20 minutes, and that's because I actually get enjoyment out of it. So, and even if it does help you mentally, it might not necessarily help you with muscle recovery in a scientific way, but if you mentally believe it does, or if it mentally clears your mind a little bit. That's what I get from ice baths. Like when I do an ice bath, I feel my mind is clear for hours after I do the ice bath. Whether that's a placebo effect or whether that's a real effect, it's real to me. So if it's benefiting you, definitely do it. Be cautious. Don't your limits. Everybody's a little different, but your limits. Don't stay in there too long. And if you're going to do it for recovery, obviously don't just jump in and out. That's the other thing that I hate. Like one of the things that is hitting the mic here. One of the things that I hate the most is when you'll be in a public sauna, like at a gym or something, and people will like go in and go out, and they keep opening the door, and then they let the cold air in, and it's so irritating. Guys, if you're going to use a sauna, either stay in there for an extended period of time, or just don't go in there, because it's very frustrating to the people that are actually there to get some sort of benefit. All right, guys.